So guys, you can see the headlines: Trump to announce aggressive Ukraine weapons plan. Yeah, it is already happening. We have those baby steps to support Ukraine and really pressure Russia, because the only way how you can achieve it is to apply more sanctions on Russia and to boost Ukrainian military support first of all. Donny said about it himself, recording the video very close to the airplane. That's why it's very noisy, so I can tell you what it is about better than to listen to him here. So Ukraine will get the military support from the United States, from the new administration. However, at the same time, Donny said that Europeans will pay for it, so American taxpayers are not involved in that. So the previous information about the possible military packages coming directly from Donald Trump, $300 million or something like that, no, it is still under the question. But we know Donny, he says one thing, he does the other one in a few minutes, so never know what is in his head. Probably he doesn't know himself. A really unpredicted politician. I promise not to tell like lots of the bad things about him by the time he's turning towards support of Ukraine. But I have another channel, it's in the video description, where I tell different stuff and also about Epstein case relative to Donny and how he eagerly tries to hide the information. But anyways, it's not the topic of today's video.
So I don't want to get ahead of the president, but stay tuned about seized assets.
Lindsey Graham, one of the senators who is pushing the project to apply more sanctions on Russia, say that there is the variant to use the frozen Russian assets to support Ukrainian military. The Russian money is the best variant. You don't have to take the money from the budgets of the United States or European Union. You just spend the Russian money for producing European or American weapons, boosting the economy of those countries just a little, but still, and at the same time support Ukraine. No losses, just pluses for everyone except Russia. So we're gonna see what might happen today. Because according to the European time, I'm recording this video very early morning. Sorry guys, I don't have the stable schedule for my videos. Then I have the news, I record the videos. Guys, as you may see, the common pressure on the White House administration really works. I mean, with influencers, media, for half a year we all were telling to Donny that Putin is just playing with him, that Putin is sugarcoating Donald Trump, saying that he wants to restore relations with the USA, but in fact, Putin wanted to continue the war. So it's not Trump's plan at all. Donny understood it finally after so many questions asked by journalists in the White House. Donny, what do you do? Donny, come on, Putin is playing you. No, we have those lovely conversations, best conversations, we're up to reach the deal. Any sort of the deal with Putin is not possible. While Putin is in power, the war continues. It is understandable. It was understandable from the very beginning, but not for Donald Trump's administration. No, they tried to resolve it in their own way. It is frustrating, guys, because Ukraine lost lots of the time and Russia reinforced the production of the Shahed drones. Now they attack Ukraine daily, or every night is better to say, with hundreds of drones, and definitely it is not good. Plus, Russia is pushing on the front line, so Ukraine urgently needs Patriot missiles, Patriot systems and other systems to hold against the Russian aggression. There is no other way how you can push Russia otherwise. So we need to show to Putin really with actions that he is unable to reach his goal, and only that is how he might be like physically stopped in Ukraine. You cannot say him to stop. Putin, stop. Yeah. What is interesting that in the article of Axios they say that Trump is willing to even support some of the long-range weapons for Ukraine, not just Patriots. Maybe we're speaking about ATACMS missiles. Ukraine is in lack of those. Several days ago, actually, Ukrainian military officials went to the United States to show the list of the weapons Ukraine needs right now. So probably ATACMS is out there. At least we have this report from Axios. I don't see any sort of the other long-range missiles which United States could support to Ukraine. Plus, in this article, they say that Putin directly told to Donald Trump that Russia is going to reinforce attacks on Ukraine in the coming months to get full control over Donetsk and Luhansk regions very, very soon. Putin said in a couple of months Russia will do it. Well, it looks like unreal. Maybe Putin just lives in his own informational bubble. But what is understandable that Donny didn't like that, and he decided to reinforce the support of Ukraine in that case. By the way, my friends, if you want to support the job that I do here almost daily on the channel, you are very welcome to my Patreon. The Patreon link I'll put in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your awesome support. You keep me motivated to film videos more often and with more joy. If you don't have the opportunity to support me financially, you may just press your huge like here and subscribe for the channel, because that is how you boost the videos in YouTube algorithms, which help this channel a lot. So because of this guy, Colby, the deputy of Hexet, the military support for Ukraine was stopped roughly 10 days ago, but it backfired with more military support, potentially again, because now we're still speaking about potential military support. It has not yet been fully announced by Donald Trump's administration. We expect it to happen today, and I'm gonna come out with a new video explaining you what is in the new packages. Potentially it will have this information. So this guy wanted to concentrate only on China because he's responsible for that in Pentagon, so he wanted to cancel Ukrainian military support, to send probably more equipment to Taiwan, who knows. But anyways, Ukraine will get more, partially because of the actions of this guy, because there is the informational wave which rose against the cancellation of the military support of Ukraine. Influencers, officials started to speak about it everywhere. So yeah, this guy is incompetent, and also it tells a lot about the policy of Pentagon, that it's not solid. Like this entire regime of the United States of America, administration, let's say, it is not solid at all. Yeah, Donny has the last word, but if he says nothing, they may act as they want. There is no like common vector. Here we have the Russian Telegram channel. As you may see, they're not happy at all with the recent news coming from Donald Trump's administration. It was their guy, as they thought before, but apparently no. However, they're happy about those news, let me tell you. And yeah, here I'm disappointed with the news, because previously Chancellor Merz said that he will support Ukraine with Taurus missiles, cruise missiles. Those are really fantastic. But now Boris Pistorius, the Minister of Defense of Germany, he continued to be the minister even under a new chancellor. He said that Germany has no plans to send Taurus to Ukraine. So they are playing with this Taurus. We're gonna send it, we're not gonna send it, then again we're gonna send it, then cancel. It was happening with Chancellor Scholz, it is happening with the Chancellor Merz. So there is no political will from Germany to supply those missiles, really fantastic missiles, to Ukraine. So it shows that Russian policy to frighten Germany, for example, works. As you might remember, not long time ago, the Russian sabotage groups burned the German equipment, some of the vehicles, trucks on one of the stands there, and probably that scared the hell out of the German Defense Minister Pistorius, and they concluded that it's better not to escalate. They always tell about the escalation. But after all, I still predict that Germany will have to supply those missiles to Ukraine. There is no other way of how to deal with Russia, especially with Russian supplies behind the front lines. Yeah, not so good news. That's why Russians are very happy under comments with their reactions. And you know, guys, Europe continued to support Russian war machine by purchasing Russian fossil fuel. So back in 2024, according to analysis of La Repubblica, and actually it's definitely like that, Europe paid more for the Russian gas than allocated funds for Ukrainian support. Well, at the same time, EU plans to stop purchasing Russian gas till 2027. We'll see how it goes, but the current situation is not good. So for the next 2 years, at least, they're gonna purchase Russian gas and pay for the Russian war machine. At the same time, Ukraine is actually as this shield protecting Europe against Russia. So kind of the strange policy, I would say. Some people might say that it's impossible to change the supplier of the gas that fast, not to hurt the European economy. Maybe it's even like that, but I think we should value security more than other stuff. And I guess I already told in one of my videos a couple of weeks ago that there is the alternate for the Russian gas. Just European energy companies, they're very in tight connections with Russia still. They want to do business as usual. And also the bad thing for our allies that Donny continued to keep his stupid policy relative to the tariffs. He wants to increase the tariffs on Europe. By the time there should be unity between allies, I mean America and European Union. Macron is angry about it, as well as the rest of the Europe. And definitely there is the pressure on the European economy by the time Europe allocates or should allocate lots of the funds to support or boost its military for possible defense against Russia. We know that Germany wants to boost the production of military. We know that France has the plan to increase its army almost by 2 times. And those tariffs, they play a very bad game for the European security again. Donny has the policy which is the pain in the ass for everyone, for Ukraine, for Europe, maybe not for Russia, because Russians, after all, they don't care and they understand that Donny will not support Ukraine as much as the previous White House administration. So it actually forces the European Union to cooperate with other countries outside cooperation with the United States. For example, with Indonesia, there is the new partnership, and with China. Indonesia is fine, but China, we know that China supports Russian war against Ukraine, so this cooperation is not good either. About Indonesia, those are actually good news. The long-awaited pact comes after the United States imposes tariffs on trade partners. So they impose tariffs on Indonesia as well. So the world unites between each other to compensate the losses, which makes the United States, I would say, more isolated. In perspective, more trade alliances could be created between Europe and Asia, and Europe may play even bigger role in the future. But the problem for Europe is that it is not that united as United States of America, unfortunately. But still, there is the great perspective with this new breath, a new cooperation between Asia and Europe. Or I guess about the Frontlines update, there is the map that was published recently. It is not the deep state military map, but other analysis. Actually, it shows the issue in direction of Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. So because Russia was capable to create this huge bridgehead for the last few months, they're now capable to create the pressure from the eastern side towards Mirnograd, and also they try to advance towards Pokrovsk at the same time. Plus, they're going from the Lysivka village here before Ukraine tried to regain the ground, partially successfully, but now Russia has the plan to occupy 2 of those very important settlements. Those are decisive, could be even for entire Donetsk region. Before I told you many times why, because Russia may use those as the supply hubs for the further offensives towards the populated areas of Donetsk. It is clear that Putin is following his political goal to occupy Ukraine. He even reinforced the group of the Russian army located in Ukraine. It is now counting 700,000 Russian forces, or Russian troops, it's better to say. Those are mostly deployed in eastern direction, also this direction, but partially also in Kharkiv. There is also the Russian presence in the south, but not as much as here. So as you may see, this is the new Russian movement just for a few days, which is not really good for Ukraine. If Russians are successful moving towards Rodinske over here, or Rodinske, they might partially encircle this entire group, forcing Ukraine to leave area without any battle in the settlements. I think it's the main idea for Russia now to attack towards this direction, to cut this road for supplies, as well as maybe this one attacking from this side, not far away from Pokrovsk. So this situation is dangerous now for Ukraine in this direction. The Wall Street Journal say that there is almost no movement of the front lines, but we see the movement. Like, I reviewed the military map. Unfortunately, Russia is attacking more nowadays, because maybe the weather is good, and yeah, they try to use this summer for attack, because during the winter time those operations are very limited because of the weather. Well, here we have more detailed information, but this map is in lack of the contrast. So this is Pokrovsk, this is Mirnograd. As for the size, Pokrovsk is a little bigger. Here you may see the Russian recent territorial gains, and those arrows are the attempts of Russia to move forward. It doesn't mean that they are moving from those sides, but the attempts are happening. meet waves one after another. So far, Ukraine mainly is capable to stop those, but not everywhere. Like you see here, Russia moved. There is just one road which leads to Rodinsk, so Russia has to use this one, and Ukraine absolutely must to protect Rodinsk. Otherwise, at least Mirnograd will be partially encircled if Russia gets here. So you may see this is the front line itself, just to make it more contrast. So Russia is very close actually to Pokrovsk, to Mirnograd, and they want to attack it from this side as well, creating this huge pocket, forcing Ukraine to leave the area. If we move a little to the north, this is Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, Rodinsk, very important point. Russian territorial gains, that is what we saw recently. The good thing here that there is the river coming. It's like the natural obstacle which holds Russia. Nevertheless, from what I see, Russians capable to cross the river already towards Fedorovka and Boykivka over here, expanding the gray zone. For now, it's hard to tell whether they created their bridgeheads, but the situation is not really good. As you may see, Ukraine deployed many of the forces here, but Russians are on the way to Rodinsk. If they're successful moving their supplies with this bridgehead, consists out of 2 villages. So it's important for Ukraine to push Russians out from the place. Otherwise, it creates a huge threat for Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. Kind of the detailed map, I would say. I like it a lot, and probably I'm gonna refer to it in the future updates. Guys, again, how many of those officers really were in the headquarters command of 155th Russian Brigade? There is the information that one more officer lost his life because of the Ukrainian strike on the 2nd of July. I guess it's Captain Shipunov Alexander Mikolaev, so totally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 officers, 1 major general, 3 colonels and 1 captain. Crazy precise Ukrainian strike, and we have the data coming from the Russian funerals. Everything has been confirmed. About the losses on the front lines, we have the data from Andrew Perpetua, and Russians lose more than Ukraine. However, Ukrainian losses are still high. I think Ukraine needs to obtain more of the Max Pro vehicles from the United States of America because they're in use all the time for the small assault operations. Ukraine is mostly using those vehicles. Their armor is robust, especially underneath, so good mine protection. The vehicle is outstanding. Russians absolutely do not have analogs of the Max Pro. Well, you may see lots of the blue here because of the communication equipment mainly, so Russians are using their Lancer drones and also FPV drones to target even Starlink terminals. That's why if we speak about vehicles, artillery, there are not many losses as there could be. Still, it's big. Russians lose more, lots of the communication equipment as well, but many of the vehicles too. Especially if we zoom in, like Bukhanka vans, trucks, Lada vehicles, Lada, so civilian vehicles are in use. More and more information coming that Umerov, current defense minister of Ukraine, will be dismissed and will go to the United States of America as an ambassador of Ukraine. Well, it appears that the new defense minister could be Denis Shmyhal. He's the prime minister of Ukraine now, just Zelensky's guy, very loyal to Zelensky, and he will be in charge of Minister of Defense, as many sources say. Whether it would be like that 100%, we're gonna see this week. And here a couple of words about my yesterday's video. Somehow it got way more views than usual. Probably I know why. So if you haven't watched it, I recommend to check it out. And now I know what you like. If I'll see more stories like that, I will obviously post the information about it. About this lady, we have more information that she was flying to Rostov, and not only on military airplanes, many of the times, like during the winter time as well, there were her posts created. You see somewhere on the apron, there are some of the airplanes there. Some sources say that her lover is Vladislav Gritsov. He is connected to the Russian military officials, but he's not like top shark out there. He was also prosecuted several years ago for some stealing. But for now, those are just the rumors, because girl showed some of the really high Russian official in the cabinet. Well, maybe she's over-exaggerating from her side as well, showing that she's flying so high that he has relations in Kremlin itself, but in fact it could be way more grounded. However, she was still in a plane, flying for her own personal needs on a military freaking jet, yeah. Okay, this Russian Wagner soldier is being detained in Finland. His name is Evgeny and he's asking for political asylum in Finland. Before he was in a Russian prison and voluntarily went to the war against Ukraine back in 2022, joining the Wagner formation. Yeah, by the time there was Prigozhin still alive, Evgeny was fighting in Bakhmut. However, after Prigozhin was KIA, Yevgeny somehow left Russia and started to record videos saying that Wagner was betrayed and how bad the Russian leadership really is. I think he did it just to get the points for political asylum and probably he'll be given it. However, at the same time, this guy should be persecuted for the war action against Ukraine because he went there voluntarily to kill Ukrainians. And who knows what he did there in Ukraine, right? Because Wagnerites, they're very brutal, especially those who were in the Russian prisons before. And this face is not really intelligent, I would say. There were the cases, however, that Wagnerites joined the Russian volunteer corps, which is fighting for Ukraine. Yeah, occasionally it might happen. But at the same time, it's kind of the rare case, and our intelligence works well to find out whether the guy is trustworthy or not. But yes, in Erdeka there are some of the Wagnerites who fight now against the Russian army. Now guys, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so you help me a lot, and also subscribe for the channel. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.